Hi, my name is Natalie Oyagi, and this is my Capstone PostMortem. I'm the sole designer and developer of the legendary Guardian, which I made in a little over a month and a half. I went through 3 teams and 2/3 of Capstone on other projects before I started work on the legendary Guardian. The first team in prototyping, I left over immediate creative differences on the projects we were working on. I started my second team rather late, where the game's concept, design, and roles were already filled out. I was tasked with designing menus and doing audio. Unfortunately, at the end of prototyping, that team disbanded, and I had to find a team for pre-production. I formed Team Duo, finding another student who felt it would be better to work on a small team rather than work in a larger team. A few days later, we became Team Trio and started our platformer based on Rocket Knight Adventures, a Sega Genesis game. We passed pre-production at the start of GSI. We ended up having another team member join us. I won't go into details, but the first milestone of GSI was a 4. I needed a 90 on my next milestone to pass. After getting approval, we were allowed to go our separate ways. So I ended up having 2 days to pick a reference game, write out a feature list, set up Perforce, set up Unity, and do it on my own. I had 5 days total to prototype all the mechanics, so I decided the game I would choose would have to fit a certain criteria. It had to be something I was familiar with, it had to be something that me and my boyfriend could be passionate about, and it had to reflect what kind of game I was interested in making, so it could be a good portfolio piece. I chose the Guardian Legend, not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. The game came out in 1988 and was a top-down shmup mixed with a top-down adventure game, so think Blazing Laser meets The Legend of Zelda. I picked the top-down adventure portion of the game to start working on the first. I didn't sleep for a few days, and I came up with a working player and camera controller with smooth-moving camera transitions, and the player shooting in 4 cardinal directions. I made enemies, spawners, enemies being destroyed, and made sure to feature a game objective. I would warn anyone against this method of tackling milestones. I would overscope my feature list for what a team of 5 to 7 people should do, and I ended up doing well enough that I got into balancing with this game. For the first milestone, I set out to make and flesh out the hub. Create teleporters, transfer the player to different scenes, create a new scene which will feature a future boss, create a new stronger enemy, and create an enemy that shoots, sets up a player health and system score, and of course create a pause menu. I had my boyfriend assist me with sound effects, music, art, animations, and finding whatever I needed. At this time, I was also handling a lot of personal and financial issues. It was during the latter half of game balancing that I was starting to get frustrated with all my bugs. I'm not a programmer by any stretch of the means, and I guess if I learned anything, it would be that. Now that I felt that I was mostly caught up and wanted to polish up the kinks of the game and flesh out the PFI, I did find that old school pen and paper methods worked best for me. So you scribble, draw up maps, write out bugs, build, tackle those bugs, write up more bugs, build, repeat. I was stuck in a pattern of circular logic where every bug I tackled created another bug when fixed. On my breaking points, I would stop and create assets or work on other aesthetic things to make steady progress. I was late in handing my project, but was able to move on given my previous grade. I had to cut from my mind any aspect of incorporating the shmup section of the game so late in the stage, though I changed the 4 cardinal direction shooting into a twin-stick shooter to emulate the arcade feel that you got from the shmup section. The pause menu was modeled after the 80s in an asymmetrical pattern with the colors chosen. I didn't really like it, as it messed with my need for everything perfect and symmetrical, but luckily I have an artist for a boyfriend, and it was a great decision in the end. Hopefully I'll keep that lesson, because I think it's important to be mindful of another's skills. There were things cut, but not really anything that changed the original vision or direction. Just a lot more I wanted to do that I don't have time for. I did wish I had a person that I could bounce some ideas for tackling code with, but the gameplay is fun, and to say the least, there's a lot of promise in the world to be a great many things. I would say my favorite thing is showcasing through visual and audio PFI the player progression, which adds quite a lot of life in the world. Still working on those menu bugs, but I guess a game is never finished, just shipped. Thank you.